Thank you. You wait long enough, you get applause. Thank you. Welcome to the Humanity of Creativity, powered by PechaKucha. Good evening, I'm Ian Fenwick, your MC and past chair of the Chilliwack Creative Commission. The organization that is bringing you this, our 9th annual PechaKucha event. We are live from Studio C in Midtown Chilliwack in person and streamed online. The Creative Commission actively supports film, TV, and commercial production, plus all manner of interactive, digital, and creative activity. Through this work, the Commission aims to develop economic opportunities in the growing creative industry sector while enriching the quality of life here in Chilliwack. The Commission acknowledges with gratitude that our creative work takes place on the unceded traditional territory of the Stalo Nation. I ask Commission member Sandra Bonner-Peterson to offer her First Nations welcome to PechaKucha 2024. Sandra, please.
Equaleld, Ethlot Wilmuk Tilsqui, Talitso Quadchiactal. Good evening, everyone. My traditional name is Ethlot. My given name is Sandra Bonner-Peterson, and I'm a member of the Chiacton First Nation. We are on the unceded lands of the Chilliwack and the Palau tribe, and I am here to welcome you to the territory. I hold my hands up in welcome. Mukwa, all my relations.
Thank you, Sandra. The Commission is this smiling group of passionate creative leaders. Drawn from a cross-section of the community, these individuals work to develop connections among local creatives, helping to establish a fertile environment for creative work in Chilliwack. They are assisted by 3 very capable staff members, pictured on the right side of the slide. While all members of the Commission have contributed to organizing this PechaKucha, key to this event are Tim McAlpine, who is juggling audio, video, streaming, recording in this production. He's a regular octopus over there. Matthew Hawkins is our official behind-the-scenes photographer tonight, might be taking pictures of you having a drink of wine or something. And Nettie Tam, CEPCO Manager of Economic Development, has been coordinating the entire event. The Creative Commission is a committee of the Chilliwack Economic Partners Corporation, or CEPCO, the economic development arm of the City of Chilliwack. Thanks to both CEPCO and Mayor Ken Popov and City Council for their support for the ongoing work of the Commission. Here is Councillor Jason Lum, the city's representative, an enthusiastic creative sector supporter who I know has had a very busy day. He was down in Surrey at 6 o'clock representing Chilliwack and has had meetings all day, the hardest working guy in Chilliwack. I give you Jason Lum.
Checks in the mail, Ian. Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here on behalf of the City of Chilliwack, on behalf of Mayor and Council. In my 13 years on City Council, there's been one constant in that a committee that I've always arm wrestled to stay on, and it's been it was past the Film Commission and now the Creative Commission. And it's because I'm biased, obviously, but it's the best committee of the City of Chilliwack. It's the most fun people that I get to hang out. Yeah, woohoo! It's the people that are the most fun to hang around, the most energetic. I always leave here feeling so good about the future of the city. I learn new things every time. I was saying to some of the folks some of them are sweating a little bit in the green room, getting ready. That don't worry, because you won't do. You will not do worse than I did at the inaugural PechaKucha. I wasn't able to advance slides. I wasn't able to. We were doing it in the round at the gathering place at UFE, and so the bar is so low, and I've done that for you. I've done that for you on purpose tonight. But seriously, on behalf of the City of Chilliwack, I'm so grateful that you're here sharing the evening with us. These are top-notch, amazing 5 presenters that you're going to see. Thank you to the Commission. Thank you to all the people who volunteered to make this happen. Thank you to all the volunteers on the Creative Commission and our wonderful staff. Without all of you, this doesn't happen. And I hope you sit back and enjoy. There's so many awesome things happening in Chilliwack, and we have so much to be thankful for and grateful for. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason, for those uplifting words. We would appreciate you, members of our audience, to connect with your friends online about this event. Please use Creative Chilliwack as the hashtag. Please feel free to take pictures and post, either during or after the event. This evening's program will be continuous for about 60 minutes without an intermission. A word to the presenters. Remember, you will have 5-second countdown on the confidence monitor, which then your presentation begins. Now, we are ready to begin. Are you? Yeah. Good. Yeah. Our first presenter is Allison Colthorp, the Executive Director of Tourism Chilliwack. Allison leads her team in the implementation of destination management and reconciliation planning. This includes operating Chilliwack Heritage Park, the Visitor Center, the Chilliwack Merch Shop, and the Flag Shop. She has worked over 25 years' experience working in the tourism industry with strong focus on forming positive partnerships. In her spare time, you can regularly find her in her backyard barbecuing. She also has a passion for animals, and to date, Allison has rescued 2 seagulls, 16 ducks, 5 dogs, 2 raccoons, 1 deer, 2 quails, and numerous ants. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first PechaKucha, Allison Colthorp.
Ace Whale, good evening, everyone. I can't believe I am saying this because I'm dating myself, but I have been in tourism for over 25 years. I know. And Jason Lum, best committee. What about tourism? You were on our tourism board forever. So we have a couple of issues there. All of us do in the back, but we'll deal with you later. I am off script already, but I just want to tell you, I've been through when I see tourism explode during the Olympics to implode during COVID. And one thing that we recognize is that we can play a big role in regenerative tourism. And this is what we call protecting this gift. The trails were screaming enough, things were not happening right, and everybody was blaming tourism. But when we actually look at all the things that were going on out there, we realize it's the residents and tourism have to work together, and the visitors, and First Nations, and all the different industries. So collaboratively is what we are planning to do and are doing. So when we were putting our plan together for protecting this gift, it was a really important role for us to look at different places around the world, including Iceland, New Zealand, and Wales. When we looked at those places, we saw great initiatives that were progressive and unique, and we thought we can make it our own in Chilliwack. Even though we're small, we are mighty as a community. So I look at 4 different things we looked at when we were building our brand: environmental impact, cultural impact, social impact, and economic impact. All these things are important to our community and to all of us. So we brought that together under protecting this gift. The funny thing is, or the most important thing is it's a state of consciousness. We're getting there. I've seen it. I just was sharing an example of my son, Miller, who was laughing at me or getting mad at me. He actually slapped my hand when I put the wrong thing in the garbage and it should have went to recycling. That is what we should all be doing. And I believe we can do that, especially here. So as Tourism Chilliwack and our board and staff, we actually believe our brand can inspire value change. Totally different thought process for tourism. But we know we can do it because our community believes in working together, and we have amazing groups of people and authorities, everybody coming together. So it's all about heads and beds, yes, but we want to believe in being confident in the long run. The more we all protect, the more valuable we become, the more we ensure nature is not forgotten. And we can do a better job as long as we all do it together. It's very, very important. When we look at things that are already being done out there, you look at Hello BC, the regional district, municipalities, we're always sharing be prepared, be respectful, and be safe. But what about leave enriched? What about teaching people about the Indigenous cultures? How about sharing how much we love our community, how we own it? So as Tourism Chilliwack, we said, how are we actually going to do something? People are like, oh, that's all great. Good job, Allison. Good job, Tourism Board. But what can we actually do? Well, we're like, all right, we're going to make tangible things out of this plan. And we have done some things, and we look forward to hearing more and wanting to be inspired by more from our community. Biggest thing is social media. You saw it during COVID, right? You saw those beautiful lakes and trails and everybody on them. Well, why don't we use it for the other purpose? Why don't we show how we can protect our gift and use fun ways and create fun reels, captivate people, get their attention, and showing the importance of protecting our gift. Don't be trashy. I thought, oh my God, my board is gonna kill me for this one. But they were like, that is fantastic. And I'm like, okay, we're doing it. So for the last 2 years, things like this capture your attention on the highway. So this was in Abbotsford, and we did it for 2 months. And it's that one that's right beside Abbotsford Centre. It works because it's a way of touching people, and people laugh about it and talk about it. Other ways is looking at groups like Cultus Lake Park Board, who say, I love this idea. What can we do? I'm like, well, let's look at stuff. So we looked at their parking receipts. It was perfect. It was blank on the back. No cost to anybody. Get them printed on the back, and let's see what they need for their community. We then went to Lindeman Lake, where we got lots of emails, maybe some of you here, or like messages, saying, why are you there on the trail? It's the busiest trail. Because we partnered with BC Parks and Adventure Smart to tell people, do not wear those high heels, do not wear that dress, do not park on the road, but here's some other beautiful trails you can visit, because a lot of people came from Vancouver on those busy days. So the toilet, this porta potties, I can't believe I'm talking about porta potties, but it's so amazing because all the interest groups out in the Chilliwack River Valley were having a problem with toilets, and it costs a lot of money. For those involved in that industry or know, it's a lot of money. So what we did is we put porta potties out there. Not one has been vandalized because all the interest groups and clubs over the last 2 years have been taking care of it. The Chilliwack shop, our merchandise, I can't say enough. I'm going to use the word community pride, period. It's so important to us, and people are proud of it. It's successful, and we're always looking for new ideas, but it just shows the pride. This is a way of taking small businesses, our breweries in particular, and finding ways that they can connect to protecting this gift. This came about with all of them collectively working together, and then all the profits made from this went to Chilliwack Park Society, who worked with the Stalo Youth program to build a trail. Then one of my biggest highlights and important parts is protecting or sharing people that are actually doing the work. I can talk, I can share, I love talking, as you can tell, gift of gab. But what about those people that are actually on the trails? And these 3 individuals you may know were the ones that really make it happen. So we're looking forward to showing more. Then again, I'm gonna go back. It's not just Tourism Chilliwack, it's all of us working together. It is me looking at plans, other communities saying, yes, let's do it, or other authorities saying, all of us working together, because we don't work in silos in Chilliwack. And all of you here and online and in our community proven that. So I challenge you to look at how we're looking at regenerative tourism, protecting this gift, and find ways that you can connect to what we're doing and help be part of it. This is community driven. This is not tourism. This is for all of us, and we have a job to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison, for that rousing speech. One talk in, and you may be wondering about the history of this interesting presentation style. Let me briefly explain. We have invited a number of speakers representing a broad range of interests in the community to each present 20 images showcasing their creative work or how they harness creativity in what they do. Each of these images plays for 20 seconds, in which time the presenters speak about the image, then automatically the image advances. This means that each presentation is 20 by 20 seconds in length, or 6 minutes and 42 seconds. If you are not interested in one presentation, which I find hard to believe tonight, just wait. Another one will be along soon. This elegant and challenging for presenters format was devised to streamline over-talky slide presentations to show more, talk less. PechaKucha events are hugely popular worldwide, regularly happening in more than 1,000 cities around the world. PechaKucha translates from Japanese as the sound of conversation. For those attending in person this year, you have the opportunity to interact with the speakers in the lobby after the presentations, all the while enjoying the refreshments provided. Networking, discussion, and social enjoyment are all part of the PechaKucha experience. Alex Harte is our next presenter. Alex has combined his Bachelor of Arts in Geography with his love of the camera to create Alex Harte Photography, a Chilliwack-based company. He has documented everything from weddings to small businesses to national basketball championships and travel photography. Alex spent his earlier career as a researcher and analyst, working along with NGOs abroad, government branches, and universities conducting environmental research, trying to find ways to help and connect people. He seems to have found his way here in his hometown through the lens of his camera. Alex, please.
All right, how's that for a rough start? This is one of my first photos that I ever shared online. I snuck the family camera, I went for a walk, and I started shooting. I didn't know what I was doing, but I loved it. Thing is, this photo, it's not that good, and neither are the next few that you're gonna see. See, tonight is dedicated to the humanity of creativity. When I was invited to speak, I thought, Tim, what in the world does that mean? So I set out to answer that question, and I started with this. What is more human than the experiences we have in life, and do we create from those experiences? I looked to my own journey to see if I had an answer. These photos you see are the beginning of the journey before I had any experience or life knowledge to help craft my art. Now, I'm going to be sharing my story and lessons that I've learned along the way, but I ask that all of you think about your own experiences and how they've inspired your creativity and your life. These may be my words, but this is a story about us. I've always been inspired by good imagery. Seeing the world is how I've come to understand it. I've also struggled to sit still. So, at 20 years old, with nothing but a backpack, a screenshot of an address, and a barely functioning phone with no minutes, I found myself in downtown Bangkok. This is where I learned my first lesson. Take a risk, and also get a phone plan. It's here that I met Dom. Dom became my travel buddy as we explored Southeast Asia. Dom was also a stellar photographer. For the next month, I watched as he turned strangers into friends with a few kind words and a good photo. As I watched, I knew that I wanted to recreate moments like that, but I had so much to learn. I returned home to life in school, and a couple of years went by, and questioning what I was doing with my life, I found myself on a train backpacking through Europe. This time, I had my backpack, a plan, and a small point-and-shoot camera, a gift from my parents. It wasn't fancy, but it was exactly what I needed. The camera was basic, and to take a good image, I had to focus on the fundamentals: subject, composition, light. Every shot was a chance to practice. This was my second lesson. Work with what you got and create anyways. After Europe, I started a new chapter as I moved to the island to finish my geography degree. I also bought my first DSLR camera. During my final year of studies, I was on a plane back to Asia, this time to work in Vietnam as a Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Scholar, which is a fancy title for unpaid intern. When I wasn't in the office, I was out with my camera, mostly hanging off the back of a moped taking snaps of the city. See, I'd been shooting for my university as well, and I owned more photography books than textbooks. This also meant that I spent more time with my camera than on my course material. Please don't ask how I got that scholarship. I genuinely don't know. But I was in a very fortunate spot, and I started to really care about sharing these photos with my friends and family back home. See, this was the summer of 2019, where global unrest was mounting. I wanted to show that not everything was bad, and I figured photos could do that. That summer was a beautiful one, but I returned home to a life that I no longer recognized. 2020 soon came, and with that, the shutdown of the entire world. A lost job, a shattered community, and no graduation. I watched as friends moved home, lost jobs, and I stood by as their mental health declined, my own included. I felt helpless, and I hated that feeling. I woke one morning to a message. A friend asking for grad photos. I'd never done it before, but I was excited to help. This inspired an idea. I wrote a Facebook post, and I asked everyone to share it. Grad photos by donation. No minimum cost, pay what you could. I had people from all over the island asking for photos, and suddenly I was shooting every day. I met international students who couldn't leave the country, students who found themselves completely alone and their next chapters gone. These grad photos were some of the only chances that we got to celebrate. This was my third lesson. It's bigger than me. If you know Aaron, you know that he also believes in this. I ran this project for 3 years, and with help, we raised money for mental health charities and we collected food for food banks. I didn't feel so helpless anymore. However, COVID raged on, and as the world struggled, so did I. I left my master's degree, I bounced between work contracts, and I felt lost. Still, some light remained because I also married my best friend, and I turned to my camera for healing. That little light that I felt, I wanted to share it. Moving back to Chilliwack, I looked to my own community. I connected with trail runners, the Chilliwack Independent Film Fest, here at Cowork, artisans, and friends. They embodied the best of humanity, an indomitable spirit, warmth in fellowship, and courage in adversity. This was to become my fourth lesson. There is always light, even on cloudy days. There's still light in people. Light doesn't always mean a radiant sun. Sometimes it means diving in frigid temperatures to clean the bottom of the ocean. Meeting all of these people back home, I was reminded of the lessons I've learned over the years, of taking risks, working with what you got, being bigger than yourself, and chasing light. They inspired me. I wanted to shoot brightly, genuinely, and to create work that gave hope, the same hope that I was given by others. Through working this way, I could see that my experiences were shaping my photos. I could feel Dom's ease around his subjects. I could see the composition and framing of my little point-and-shoot camera. The power in creating for others, and focusing on light. A decade of lessons now started to reveal themselves. Last summer, my wife and I embarked on a road trip across Canada. We set out with two things, a 1977 renovated RV, and a belief that people were still good. Every single day, we were tested, and every single day we were reminded of how good people can still be. Through their portraits and stories, we wanted to share that it takes just a little courage to see the good. This was my final lesson. All it takes is courage. See, we're not alone in what we go through. We all experience loss, grief, joy, and love. I believe that we channel what we experience into what we create. Without my experiences, I would not be here sharing in this evening. Without yours, those seats would not be filled. So, I think I found the answer to my question. What we create with our experiences, that is the humanity of creativity. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Alex. Offering her sound of conversation is Shawna Dwyer, our next PechaKucha. Shawna has lived in Chilliwack for 5 years, having moved here in 2019 to fulfill the role of Executive Director of the Chilliwack Museum and Archives. Shawna has worked in the arts, culture, and heritage sectors since 2009, starting her career as a visitor service attendant at the local museum in Lloydminster, Saskatchewan. She completed a BA in History and Anthropology through the University of Alberta and a graduate diploma in Heritage Resource Management through Athabasca University. Shawna remained at the Lloydminster Cultural and Science Centre for nearly 10 years, fulfilling various roles, including collections, and for most of her career as the manager. Shawna has 2 young children who she is looking forward to raising in the community of Chilliwack. She enjoys hiking, backpacking with her partner, and is completing her MA in Heritage and Social History. She is also the Vice President of Heritage Chilliwack Society and a member of Seroptimist International of Chilliwack. Shawna, we're looking forward to seeing your presentation. Please come up.
Good evening, everyone. Shawna Telsqui. I'm so grateful to be here tonight on the traditional and unceded territory of the Chilliwack and Pulilak communities of the Stalo. I would like to start my talk tonight with a very brief flashback to 2020, and I know it's a time we're all trying to forget, but I promise I have a point. I think we all realize that our lives changed significantly during COVID, and that these changes continue to have a serious impact on our lives today. When I was thinking of photos for this presentation, I thought of a donation to the archives in 2020 that featured photos taken during our 2020 lockdown. The entire community of Chilliwack was cut off as we know it. And I saw this picture and I had to include it because just a couple weeks ago, the parks in my complex were closed with the same caution tape, and my 8-year-old literally thought we were in a horror movie. But we were it was challenging to cope at that time. So now that I've captured your attention with these really dark photos, I do want to talk about a project that came out of the Chilliwack Museum and Archives during this time. It was a project that captures the importance of creativity to the human condition and how we use art and creativity and community to heal. The project that I'm speaking of is the Community Art Show, which in its very first year was referred to as Creative in Quarantine. This community exhibit opened in the fall of 2020, following a 6-month closure. An open call was placed to the community to submit imaginative works created in Chilliwack during the COVID-19 pandemic. The call was met with an overwhelming response, and over 100 pieces of work were submitted in a variety of mediums across demographics and ages. Even my son Theodore, who could not be bothered to be inside and would rather be dirt biking, partaked in some artwork, much to his sister's delight, whom he refuses to play with most of the time. I really wanted to highlight this piece specifically. It's titled Giving Our Hearts, and it was completed by a grade 6 class at Vetter Elementary. It came out of a project of people placing artwork in their windows for first responders. And it's such a small gesture during a time of significant turmoil that came from a place of creativity. In 2021, we decided to do an open call for the Community Art Show once again, but it wouldn't be specific to the pandemic. However, it would be an opportunity, once again, for the community to showcase their creative sides. There was no specifications, no age limits, and no jury. And once again, the community answered the call with excitement and enthusiasm. Many of the contributors were not and are not artists in the professional sense of the word. They are people in the community who love to create and were grateful to be provided a safe, supportive spot to display their artwork. And so we continued this initiative in 2020 and 2022 and 2023, and we'll continue to do so. I do want to go a couple steps beyond this particular project to really highlight how creativity is used as a conduit for healing and expression and how it can bring a community together. I've got some more professional examples, but then I have a very important personal one that I would like to share. But first, a little more information on what we're all about at the Chilliwack Museum and Archives. The Museum and Archives is an innovative, responsive, and inclusive organization that connects people with the past, present, and future. We aim to provide experiences with local and global significance, collaborate with our community in a representative, participatory, and inclusive manner, develop relevant programming that is intellectually stimulating, and ensure our diverse histories are accessible to the community. In 2021, we held the exhibition I Remember, aiming to foster personal recollections of life and community, captured in glass mason jars and assembled from found objects. Guests were invited to craft their own connection to personal memory while exploring the dynamic range of the collective memory within the community. We had over 170 submissions. In 2022, Tracy May Chambers approached us and created a site-specific art installation on the CMA exterior as part of a Canada-wide project broaching the subject of reconciliation and decolonization. It was intended to physically intervene on colonial spaces and symbolize the resilience of Indigenous communities. Our current exhibition, Our Journey for Inclusion, features select work from the exhibition From the Inside Out, a multimedia exhibit that weave together stories from 28 people institutionalized in BC. The artwork is based on the memories of institutional life and return to the community. Another component of this exhibition is the Wholeness Juried Art Show, which features community-submitted artworks relating to the theme of wholeness. The principle that people with diverse abilities are whole and valued, and the importance of embracing disability as part of a person's identity and source of empowerment. Okay, time to get personal, my favorite thing. I'm going to give a really brief Sparks Notes of this family tale, and I hope I don't muddle it up too bad because I know my granddad's watching. In the early 2000s, my granddad was diagnosed with cancer. He underwent various surgeries, over 20 rounds of radiation, and various diagnoses. He was lucky enough that he was able to recover. However, while he was recovering, he will adamantly admit that the most challenging part was the mental recovery. This was one of his very first paintings. It's our family cabin in Badger Lake, Newfoundland. He had always said when he was going to retire, he wanted to start painting. So when he was healing from his cancer journey, that was the time to do it. So my nanny got him some lessons with a teacher who taught art, obviously. And he started painting, and he still continues to paint to this day, and has always said how important it is for his emotional and mental well-being. So in short, these are my cute kids. This is my final slide, just so you can see them. I hope you were able to take something positive away from this short talk on how art, or really creativity in any form, can be a positive conduit in your life. Quas hoi. Thank you.
Thank you, Shawna. Our next presenter is Clint Hames. Apart from his political adventures, Clint has been an active member of the arts community for over 50 years. He is an honorary life member of the Chilliwack Players Guild and has served as the Guild's president on many occasions, including today. He has been a part of hundreds of Guild productions since 1971 and worked in almost every capacity. He's also been involved in supporting the creation of the UFE Theatre Department and directed a number of productions for the department. He's also served as the president of the Community Arts Council and Chilliwack Cultural Center. And in 1999, when he was mayor of our fair city, he created the Film Commission, the precursor to the Creative Commission. He had the foresight and vision to do that, which we thank him for. Here he is to present the history of community theater in Chilliwack. Clint.
Thanks so much, Ian. Well, welcome to the, this is my countdown. Welcome to my history of the Chilliwack Players Guild. Now, people might think that community theater is a fairly recent phenomenon, but in fact, it's been active in Chilliwack for over 125 years. You might wonder, how do I know that? Well, I know that because we have a wonderful community newspaper that is that age. And in its first edition in 1891, there was a review of a community theater production and, in fact, an audition notice for the next community theater production. And community theater was valued enough in those days that there were actually two purpose-built facilities in the community to do community theater. Now, following the turn of the century, community theater was booming. Dramatic groups like the Atchlitz Dramatic Society were working out of the Atchlitz Hall, which still exists today. The Carmen Dramatic Society in Sardis was active, and the Chilliwack Dramatic Society, which is the granddaddy of the Chilliwack Players Guild, was doing Gilbert and Sullivan as early as 1910. In these very heady days, Chilliwack had two theaters, the Strand and the Lyric, which later became the Imperial Theatre. Well, where were they? The Strand is where Service Canada is today, and the Imperial Theatre is actually where the Bow and Stern restaurant exists today. There's some amazing and popular plays going on in the day, but Gilbert and Sullivan was really the thing everybody wanted to come and see. You can see pictures here of the Mikado and the Pirates of Penzance, and these were done in these days, in fact, as major fundraisers to build the Chilliwack General Hospital. In the 1920s and the 1930s, though, everybody wanted to see the new thing. Everybody wanted to see moving pictures, and the Strand and the Imperial converted to movies in 1924, and theater struggled until the Depression, interestingly. The Depression came, and people needed an escape, and Chilliwack Little Theatre Association was formed in 1931, and it began filling every community hall and every school gym it could find with productions, and some amazing productions in those days. But of course, the 1930s brought us again to a place in the world, 1939, with the Second World War. And after the World War, in 1946, the Chilliwack Little Theatre Association started up again, and this was their first production post-war, Blythe Spirit, the great Noel Coward comedy. In the years that followed, CHWK radio played a huge role in populating the Guild. Many of the people that were personalities on the radio also worked doing community theater. And in 1949, the Chilliwack Players Guild was guided by a woman named Kitty Allen Gillings, a CHWK radio personality who'd come from the UK. She was a real dynamo, took the Guild and the community by storm, producing and directing plays for stage and radio. And then in the 1950s, a new face came to town, courtesy of CHWK. Richard Savage brought a new level of professionalism. And in 1962, the Chilliwack Little Theatre became the Chilliwack Players Guild and converted an old industrial property on 4th Avenue to the Charles Lawton Theatre. Chilliwack now had a proper theatre. So began a new era of theatre in Chilliwack. And some of the most memorable productions. Imagine in that day they were doing productions like Caligula, The Great Sebastians, The Crucible, all in this little theater that sat about 80 people. But community theater draws such a wonderful cross-section of people. The arrow in this picture highlights Norm Groman, who many of you will know from his career on television. But sadly, shortly after this, the Charles Lawton Theatre had to close. And after a few years, however, the Chilliwack Players Guild picked up the mantle again and thrived on. You might remember Frank and Jean Anderson, the Doodle Art folks, were active members of the Players Guild at that time. And then Ray and Jane Logie came to town in the late 60s, and the Guild began to go back to its musical roots. And throughout the early 70s, Evergreen Hall played host to a series of Broadway productions that you can see here. Ray also created an award-winning theater program at the Chilliwack High School called The Pit. And this kick-started many who continue to be active over 50 years later, and many who went on to theater as a career. And yes, that is yours truly in the center left of that picture, playing a hippie in 1972. But between 1970 and 1984, the Players Guild produced over 50 productions and raised nearly $100,000 in cash and equipment towards a permanent home and a proper theater in Chilliwack. And we were rewarded in partnership with the Community Arts Council in 1985 when we developed the new Community Arts Center. The Players Guild became the resident theater in this center. It was a converted church with seating for 350. Our production of The Man Who Came to Dinner sold out all of our performances, and we sold out many, many other shows in that great facility. And from 1985 to 2008, the Guild produced and performed over 80 productions in the Chilliwack Arts Center. And in 2006, the city, under the leadership of an outstanding mayor, began planning an even bigger and better cultural center. Culture was booming. The Chilliwack Cultural Center, as we all know, opened in 2010 and has been the Chilliwack Players Guild's home since. The Guild remains very active and now shares the space with, I think, 5 other community theater groups and countless other community-based cultural groups. What's wonderful about the Players Guild is that people from every walk of life, people from every background, all genders, all abilities are welcome to take part in our shows. These are 3 that are coming up: Drinking Habits, which is coming up in April, The Gravitational Pull of Bernice Trimble, and a main stage provincial drama festival featuring drama from across the province. But remember, everybody's welcome, even recovering politicians. As you can see, our productions have featured some former politicians in roles, and actually a current politician. Our oldest member is 88 years old, and he's very active. Our youngest is 5. Everyone's welcome to participate. If you'd like to find out more, go to playersguild.ca on the internet, and you can find out all about us. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll go back in my wine's back in there.
Thank you, Clint. Our final presenter is Lise Oakley, the Executive Director of the Chilliwack Mural Festival. Lise was born and raised in Chilliwack and moved back to Chilliwack in 2021 with her young son and partner. She owns Good Digital, a creative agency, is the Executive Director of the Chilliwack Arts Council, and is a sessional instructor at the University of the Fraser Valley in the design department. Lise is bilingual Francophone with Acadian roots, has a degree in communications from Simon Fraser University, and has many stories to tell from the 10 years of playing in a band. She enjoys rebuilding retro 90s mountain bikes, photography, gardening, and taking long walks on Island 22 with her dog, Mac. We're so glad she is back in Chilliwack doing good with the annual Mural Festival. Lise, over to you.
Thank you. This is not a mural. This is an owl who in early 2022 came into my life. 6 brazen swoops later, I was afraid, so my dog and I left the park to go post the experience online. A few friends reached out to share with me that in their culture, an owl swooping down can mean a few things. It can mean that death is coming or looming. It can also mean an omen of significant change in your life. I felt the dread for the best of couple weeks as we had just moved from Vancouver to Chilliwack, bought a house, started a new business, got a puppy. About 4 weeks go by, I'm still on edge, and I get a message from someone by the name of Amber Price. Amber is a community activist, founder of the Mural Festival, owner of the Bookman. She'd seen my photo online with the mural in the background that you see here, recognized me from a previous encounter in Vancouver, and asked if I would go for beers. We met at District 1881, had a drink on the patio with great discussion around community advocacy, the future of Chilliwack, and went about our way, hoping that we'd see each other again soon. Not even 48 hours later, I get a call from Amber. She asked if I would consider joining the board of directors with the Arts Council, or, just take on the role of the director of the Mural Festival. I was surprised about the big ask and curious how she knew I was even capable. She had known me for about 2 hours? What she did know is that I was well connected in Vancouver's arts community, that I had played music in a recording and touring band, and that's me with the flute, and played many festivals across Canada. She also told me that she was looking for someone to make the festival cooler. Whatever that means, I'll take her word for it. I always think that I got handed the keys to a sweet new ride. That being said, fraught with challenges ahead and so much opportunity. Coming from a communications background, I decided to go with a rebrand of the festival as a first step to establish ourselves visually and as a professional festival that would reach wider international audiences. I started planning for the festival event with a 5-month timeline. My biggest concern was, how do I even make this happen in a town I'm no longer familiar with? Well, I hit the ground sprinting, pretty much. Fast forward to summer 2022, 14 new murals, 1 big day party, 3 stages across downtown, 60 volunteers, 40 plus artists and performers, and $120,000 raised, more than half going to artists. I learned how much work producing a mural festival was, and in that moment, I would never do it again. But I say that every year. And with ongoing negotiations with the Arts Council, I was able to bring Mural Festival into their fold to access more funds and focus on building up Chilliwack's arts and culture scene. We also approached Carrie Lynn Victor in the previous slide, a local Chiam Nation artist, to co-curate in 2023. For 2023, we decided to have our festival over 3 days with the influence of how funding structures work. Thank you, governments. To be able to qualify for larger federal and provincial grants, your event has to fit within 24 hours or 29 days. We also wanted to have a larger representation of the Stalo community within the festival and worked to include that throughout in 2023. When the festival happened, it was great, but felt a little less excitement than the previous year. We were competing with the Chilliwack Fair. This year, we're not. Had hot temperatures, and a big focus for me personally was learning the curation side of things and the mural painting. Now that I have 2 years under my belt, I thought I'd share with you what I've learned so far throughout my experience. 1, murals are what draw people to the festival first and foremost. We know this from a recent survey, and from all the anecdotal evidence we've had over the years. They can be temporary and permanent, but add so much to our downtown. 2, art is subjective. And I hear many opinions about where murals should go, who should paint them, and that the cat is scary. But at the end of the day, these conversations are good to have. 3, people love connecting with artists, especially international artists, as do I. Last summer, I took Satter and her partner from Guangzhou, China, to Vancouver Pride, as they had never been to one and cannot be out in their home city or country. Seeing their faces was priceless. Painting a 60-foot community mural is wild. And while the idea was great, the execution was ambitious and the takedown painful. Thankfully, we were able to reuse the plywood to create a more modest 24-foot mural that is now at Chilliwack General Hospital's physio clinic. 5, your team of core people and volunteers is everything. Collecting a knowledge base of skilled and passionate people helps to grow the vision. They will weed whack all of Kip Avenue at a moment's notice, get ramps built for accessibility, pull weeds and garbage from scary places, give tours. The list goes on and on. Last one. Amber asked me to always keep the soul in the festival. To me, that's thinking about the artists and community first, going deeper on inclusive art experiences, accessibility, and impact. That's what I look forward to building for this year's festival. Directing Chilliwack Mural Festival has been a life-changing shift. It's been an omen of confidence, of resiliency, of rejection, of my first gray hairs, of dealing with frustrations, of lifelong friendships and business relationships. And folks, next time I see an owl, I'm gonna run. Thank you.
Thank you, Lise. On behalf of the Creative Commission, a CEPCO committee, and President Brian Coombs, I want to thank those who made this program possible. First, I'd like to thank our speakers, Allison, Alex, Shawna, Clint, and Lise, for sharing your stories and passion for creativity. I'm sure everyone in the room and online has been inspired and informed by your talks. And I believe as a result of your words and images, we all feel better about living together with you in this extraordinary community. Yes. Thank you to Nettie Tam and the staff at CEPCO for all your unfailing behind-the-scenes coordination. Thank you to Tim McAlpine and Rebecca Myrol from Studio C at CoWork Chilliwack for your considerable efforts in making this event possible. And thank you to all who joined us for this 2024 Humanity of Creativity. I think you can all agree PechaKucha is a great platform for businesses and community members to share their stories. We hope to see you again next year. Thank you.